Hey, what's up, you guys? Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I've had this Amazon foam cannon for about a year and a half now, and I just wanted to open it up, check it out, make sure it's doing okay, check on your friends. That being said, I also purchased the upgrade kit, which is supposed to have a smaller orifice and the tighter mesh. So let's see what it looks like inside, and let's see if the upgrade kit really makes a difference. Alright, so first we're just going to go ahead and pull the hose off. And then I am going to disconnect the quick disconnect that I attached to it. This is something that I custom made to make it fit my 3/8 quick disconnects. So don't worry if yours looks different. After that, we're just going to go ahead and start disconnecting all the plastic stuff. We're going to unscrew the air adjustment nozzle, and then we will be punching out the pin to remove the spray pattern front nozzle. I don't know what the technical term for that is. So at this point, I'm just kind of curious how they work. Essentially, there are two sloped tabs inside of that black plastic piece that pinch those little metal blade looking bits together. And that's what kind of forces the water out in more of a fan shape. Getting back on track, we're just going to be removing any rubber gaskets we can get to at this point. And then we're going to go ahead and remove the nipple from the bottom. This is where the soap would be picked up. So we're going to be soaking these parts in some white vinegar in an effort to kind of clean any oxidation off of them. Because it's brass, there's no iron in the metal for it to actually become rust. However, there will still be that kind of greenish oxidation. Up next, I'm going to take two open-ended wrenches and remove the front nozzle. Now, looking inside of this, it's a lot cleaner than I expected it to be for how old it is and how hard our water is. Then again, it literally has soap being blown through it the entire time, so I guess I really shouldn't have been too surprised there. Up next, we're going to go ahead and remove the other gasket that we can get to now. Up next, I'm going to start taking apart this nozzle at the top. I just kind of played with it a little to see what it does, and essentially it's just a plug. So as you unscrew it, it allows more air in. As you screw it down, it pushes the plug into the hole to stop air from coming in. So at this point, I was really curious of how exactly this works. And I got into a lot more kind of physics than I really thought I was going to. Essentially, it looks like it's explained by the Bernoulli principle, which is also how it explains how planes fly. Basically, a differential in pressure. When you have the fluid rushing through there, it actually creates suction. So when you open the hole for the air, it allows the suction to suck air instead of soap. I'm not a physics major. I just spent an hour on Wikipedia reading about things I didn't need to know. But anyway, getting back on track, we're just going to unscrew the top of that, and then we will unscrew the plug. Again, there's a rubber gasket we're going to set off to the side, and we're going to let these pieces soak in the vinegar. So the last piece is just to remove the attachment for the bottle from the middle piece. I don't know what any of these pieces are called. But what I did find was a very small hole that had the most corrosion on it of anything I've seen so far inside of this. More than likely, I would say this is where these foam cannons fail. When this hole corrodes shut, it will no longer be able to suck soap. And that's what I've heard. Everyone says they just kind of stop sucking soap at some point. So if you have one and you want to rebuild it, you could probably just take a toothpick and stick it up through the nozzle for the hose and go from there. So circling back to that front nozzle where the foam is actually created, we're going to actually take that apart now. This is where that mesh goes in for the upgrade kit. I found the best way to remove the existing mesh is to push it out from the front. The mesh that was in there was definitely looser than the upgrade kit, but I don't know if that's just due to the age of the gun or if it's actually a looser mesh. Now we are going to remove the front blades. These are actually glued in place. They broke off pretty easy with some channel locks. Just make sure you're gentle because it is soft plastic. And then you will need some type of glue to reattach it, otherwise it will just spin endlessly and potentially unscrew itself when you try to adjust the foam fan. So after letting them sit in the vinegar for almost an hour, I went ahead and took a brass brush to the threads. My original plan was to take a pipe brush to the insides as well, but they didn't arrive in time, and honestly, the inside was a lot cleaner than I expected. As you can see, the vinegar makes a huge difference. They look brand new. They're shiny. It's amazing the difference it makes in such little time. So now we're going to go ahead and start reassembly. This is the upgrade kit you can order on Amazon. The orifice actually seems to be the same size as the one that was already in the foam cannon. I mean, obviously I'm going to put the new one in anyway, but I really don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. At least with my gun in particular. I know a lot of them ship with a larger orifice, so... Again, I'm going to make sure that hole in the bottle cap is nice and clean. And then I'm going to be reassembling everything with thread tape. It's probably not necessary. It wasn't on there originally. But if you're going to do it, you might as well do it overkill, right? Now, I did take that out to the garage, put it in the vise so I can get it nice and tight. It was pretty tight to begin with. But next, we're going to start reassembling the front nozzle. Again, we're going to make sure to put that gasket back, and then I'm going to pipe thread tape it just for my peace of mind. So we're just going to make sure that's nice and tight, and then we will put the gasket on the other end of it. Again, I'm going to throw some pipe thread tape on. And don't forget to drop the mesh screen in between these next two places. Just make sure that's nice and tight. So for the next piece, we will be needing some glue. I did this by just putting a little bit of Gorilla Glue on a piece of paper, taking a toothpick and using that to smear it around the outside of the brass threads. Just make sure you keep it out of the nozzle, and make sure that the blades are perfectly vertical, otherwise you're going to have kind of an odd foam spray. Now, while that's drying, we can go ahead and reattach the nipple for the straw. Don't over tighten this one. I actually ended up breaking it. I'll get into how I replaced it here in a little bit, but if you can find it, it's a 1/8 NPT by 1/8 nipple. Up next, I'm going to replace this gasket towards the back here. This is what actually holds your selected spray pattern in place. Up next, we're going to reassemble that air plunger on top. Remember, it is 3 pieces and then a gasket. If you are thread taping, do not thread tape the plunger because it will interfere with how it works. Once that is snugged up, we can reattach the control knob. Simply push and thread the screw back in, nice and snug. Once you've verified that appears to be working correctly, we can go ahead and reattach the front. Make sure that your glue has dried. So basically just gently wiggle it on until you get it all the way over that rubber gasket, and then replace that pin that you punched out at the very beginning. Now the last thing you need to do is to screw on your quick disconnect. I'm intentionally not showing this on my gun because I have mine kind of rigged together in a way that I'm fairly certain no one else is going to. This image here shows where the orifice goes, so make sure you thread that in before you thread in your quick connect. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I broke the nipple from my straw, so I was able to find these 2 pieces of brass piping at my local Home Depot, along with a coupler. Went ahead and threw them in. It seems to be working great. So let's go test it out. I've got my mom's car over doing an oil change, so let's go ahead and give it a wash. This is just some Armor All branded soap I had laying around, nothing too fancy. It is with a Ryobi 2000 PSI electric pressure washer. Honestly, definitely seeing an improvement. I don't know if it's just from cleaning it out or if it's from the upgrade kit, but I'm pretty happy with it. If you guys have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments down below. I'll be back with more MX5 related content. Y'all have a great day. Bye.